What's up, YouTube people? I was just sitting around. Let me adjust this screen. This camera a little bit. Looks kind of crooked. Okay, now, excuse me. I was looking at YouTube and felt that I needed to make a video about this Colin Kaepernick situation and Nike situation. And this is mostly for the African American. Here are my thoughts. I've been reading a lot of comments on several videos I've watched about Kaepernick and what he's doing, taking a knee, protesting against the Star Spangled Banner. Francis Scott Keys, I think, is the man who wrote the Star Spangled Banner. Excuse me. And I see a lot of what I refer to, or my opinion, are negative comments, like he's a sellout and he's mulatto and he's just being used by Nike to stir up racial tension in America. Okay. Now here's what I think. Here's how I see it. And after you watch this video, and I'm going to try not to make it too long, and after you watch this video, I'm quite sure you'll see it from the same perspective I'm seeing it from. If you're not an Oreo, meaning black on the outside, white on the, European on the inside. If you're purely African and you stand for what you are, you respect with dignity of what you are, and you're proud of your heritage and your ethnicity. The Kaepernick situation is a double-edged sword, just like all Kaepernick situations. Now let's look at what he's doing. Let's analyze what he's doing. He's getting down on one knee. Traditionally, when you hear the Star Spangled Banner, you stand. If you're in the military, you can either salute, put your hand over your heart, but you stand, take off your cover, take off your hat, and you give respect to the American flag. Okay, we know this. Basics. Now, let's compare this to something else. If you're young enough or old enough, or if you're young and your parents told you about, I think the Olympics was in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken, where three black men, three African American men, won gold medals. I think it was in track and field. They received their gold medals, and on the podium, they put their fist in the air. I remember this. To me, that's a Kaepernick situation. Rosa Parks. There were many Rosa Parks, but Rosa Parks got the poster child image of not wanting to sit in the back of the bus. There are many situations. Look at Roots, Kunta Kinte, running away from the slave master because he didn't want to be subjected to slavery. Kaepernick situation. How many Africans protested against the war strategy? Remember, this is where I'm coming from with all of these videos I'm making. War strategies. The European conquered Africa, and we're still in war. Some of you don't want to accept this from the comments that I'm reading. How many Africans have protested against the treatment that the conqueror has subjected the African to, and protested against it? Colin Kaepernick is a young man. Whether or not he's being a sellout, whether or not Nike is using him to stir racial tension in America, way before Colin Kaepernick's mother and father met, way before Colin Kaepernick's mother and father was born, there was Kaepernick situations Not singular, but plural. Kaepernick situations. There was no Nike around. And black people back then looked at it as what it is. Protest against the conqueror. Or back then they call it the slave master. And don't get it twisted, people. The powers that be, which is the banking system, look at you as slaves. Stupid, dumbed down slaves. Now you can let your pride not see it this way all you want. But remember, when you wash your face in the morning and brush your teeth and look in the mirror, for most of you, or you see your reflection in a body of water, remember, you don't own this world. You didn't create the system that you live in this world. Yes, you're a slave. Now you can look at it as not being a slave all you want. But if you're living in this system and you pay taxes, you're a slave. Period. End of the sentence. The sentence. Your sentence, like a prison sentence. So, if you want to look at it as he's a sellout, that's fine. You have every right to. Now, Benjamin Franklin, and I think I pointed this out in another video, Benjamin Franklin wrote in his diary that he was afraid that what they created back then will come back to bite them in the future. And that's exactly what's going on. This is the information age, and a lot more Africans, not just in America, but on the continent of Africa, have become aware of what's going on in this world and are no longer tolerating it. Now, Kaepernick just has to happen to be someone who's, in my opinion, bold enough to express that. Whether Nike has him doing this, and in my opinion, Nike doesn't have him doing this. The Creator has him doing this. The Creator has Nike doing what it's doing. The Creator has everyone doing what they're doing, and the story is right on point. Now you can call the Creator God, Yahweh, Allah, whatever the name you give it. The Creator has this story right on point because the Creator wrote the story. You can say I, and that's European conditioning and brainwashing, this individuality. But if you look back in African empires weren't built by individuals. African empires were built by a collective, unity, and that's what makes the African great. You see what happened to us when we start thinking in individual terms or adopting this individuality. We're being manipulated to fight against one another. The Nigerians against the Ghanaians, the Black American against itself and other native African countries or tribes. So this is where individuality gets us, following the European. If you look back in the European history, you'll see that the Europeans have always been at war. Always. I don't think there's been a time in European history where there has been peace among Europeans. They may have had a renaissance or periods, but as those periods of peace or renaissance were happening, there was also wars going on at the same time. And so now that we've been conquered by Europeans, we've adopted their thinking, we've adopted their ideologies, we've adopted their habits. So now we can't come together and unite. anytime someone now stands up for Africans, we shoot them down. Most of us, or a lot of us I should say, shoot them down. Now, ask yourself this question. 80 years ago, if Colin Kaepernick would have did what he's doing now in any form, what would happen to him? What would happen? They would kill him. They would have killed him already. By now they would have killed him. But now, who's killing him? Who's killing Colin Kaepernick right now? And I'm not talking about just a physical death. The Star-Spangled Banner, let me say this before I get into the Star-Spangled Banner. Before, when America was not occupied by Europeans, because there was a time where there were it was rare to see a European in America. And America, the largest portion of America happens to be the United States, what we call the United States right now. Whereas a lot of people don't accept or realize even that Central and South America and the United States happen to be, or still is, I should say, called the Americas. And during that time, it was very progressive here. It was great to be here. There were no taxes. It was multicultural. Although there were no Europeans, it was multicultural, and everyone was flourishing. Fast forward, the European came, conquered it, and changed it into something negative. Now, if you look at this history, the real history of these three bodies of land, you'll see the devastation that the European has caused while it's been occupied by Europe or Europeans. Now, it may sound like I'm against Europeans, I'm hating on Europeans. No, I'm just repeating history. And if you feel like I'm hating on Europeans, then you're shooting the messenger, which is okay. You can shoot me all you want, but that don't erase the truth. If you don't want to hear the truth, turn the video off right now. Turn it off. If you want to remain in the dark and in the lie and just your head buried in the sand, then turn the video off. Nobody's got a gun to your head and making you hear this. So there's no need for you to leave negative comments. As a matter of fact, on most of my videos that I make, I don't even have comments. And I don't have my comments turned off. That's strange. I don't know if it's YouTube doing something or it's not me. My comments are not turned off. And no one, in this day and age, people will comment just because of the shape of my head, how I talk, whatever. It's so much negativity. Miss the whole message and just comment on what they feel they should comment on. But I'm getting no comments. I like it because I don't have to listen to the foolishness, but no one can say, hey, this man is talking lies. He's telling lies. You can say I'm telling lies. You can say whatever you want to say. But I'm just repeating what has happened, facts. Just like I'm sitting in front of this camera. If you get on here and say, he's not sitting in front of the camera, then you're just arguing for argument's sake because you don't have anything to do and you're insecure. Okay, so getting back to this Kaepernick situation. Colin Kaepernick is not doing anything that any other black person or African person has done in the past when they're sick and tired of the situation that the slave master is subjecting them to. So if you look at America and what it's done, and I'm talking about the new America, the New England, the old England. And I'm not going to point them things out. We know what the Americans, the Europeans have done. And while they're up in arms about people who are kneeling, is because they're seeking to hold on to their way of life, which they have every right to. Europeans have every right to do what they have to do to keep themselves at the top of the food chain. And if you're European and you're listening to this, it doesn't matter to me whether you're Nazi, Ku Klux Klan, you just simply don't hate other ethnicity, like other ethnicities. You hear me saying, you do what you have to do to keep yourself at the top of the food chain. But remember, karma, you know the saying about karma. What you reap, you sow. And I feel that when some non-European does what Kaepernick is doing, whether it be boycotting buses, boycotting a product made by Europeans, get tired, and this is so unfortunate. There has been a lot of non-Europeans go out and just intentionally kill Europeans. But you see, Europeans, this is what you've sown. You've sown this type of behavior in non-Europeans by your deeds and your actions. Yes, I know the truth hurts. I have to deal with the truth every day about myself, and it hurts. But that's what makes me more of a man. Look, then you may use the argument, well, I didn't do it. No, but you're waddling and you're squandering off what your ancestors have done. Like I said in my first video, fight for what? The most you can do as a European now is to repent and to go out and to help non-Europeans. If your heart is really sincere, no, most of you are not going to do that. And I don't blame you. I'm not blaming you. This is war. I'm a soldier. My brother was a soldier. My other brother was a soldier. So I get it. I get that you're trying to hold on to your values. You want non-Europeans to go along with your agenda, which is stand when they hear the national anthem and give your flag respect. Now, why are Africans or Black Americans so up in arms about what Kaepernick is doing? I'll tell you why. Because there's a such thing as cellular memory. And the African was beat down physically and to this day, psychologically, that the ones you see standing up and saying, oh, we need to respect the flag, are the ones who are afraid of you. Remember that. You beat us, or your ancestors beat us so bad that it traumatized on a DNA level. Like I said, it's called cellular memory. It's the same as some new amputee lose an arm or a leg. For a short period of time, if it's a leg, that person might jump out of the bed and thinking they still got the limb. Or they may have had that limb amputated for 6 months and still feel pain in that leg or that arm when that arm or that leg is not even there anymore. We know this. This is old knowledge. So if you want to fight against this, you're just fighting for fighting's sake because you're insecure. So you see I've seen a lot of African Americans online condoning, well, not condoning, but in opposition to what Kaepernick is doing. When Francis Scott Key wrote that Star Spangled Banner song, it was about the old England and the new England at war in New York. I forget the name of the fort that they were fighting from or around, But I think it had something to do with some one side captured the other side, and they were holding them out in a boat, a ship, and there was supposed to be an exchange of prisoners, and then there was a change of heart, and so the battle sparked up again, and because the American flag didn't hit the ground, like Hiroshima didn't hit the ground, this story went around, or if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, but Francis Scott Keys heard of this battle or witnessed it, eyewitnessed it, and wrote that song. But when you listen to the lyrics of the song, it doesn't include black people. Remember, back then we weren't even considered human beings. So this is what Kaepernick is protesting against. Now, whether you believe he's a sellout or whether Nike got him up to this is besides the point. He's been told to get down on his knee by spiritual forces, by what created him. And so now, excuse me, he's no different to me, like I said already, than the three brothers that stood up on the podiums during the Olympics to protest against the Olympics. And it was probably because of the treatment that they were getting while they were in the Olympics. Can you imagine? Now see, this is us people now not standing in the shoes of some of these other people. Can you imagine Jesse Owens when he went to Germany to run against the so-called Aryan, the more dominant race, and they got their butt kicked? Jesse Owens just had no mercy and kicked their butts, how they felt and what they were saying to him. I remember when I went to Germany, when I was in the military. The first 6 months I didn't want to come off base because I just didn't want to mingle with the Germans. Peer pressure drove me off base. And so I became hooked, going off base every day, especially on the weekends. Then I decided, well, I'm going to get out the military and go back to Germany. And I did. And I stayed there for 13 more years. The treatment that I got, now I got there in 78, and I stayed there till 93, 94. But I came back to America for 2 years and went right back. You can't imagine the discrimination that I got because you didn't walk in my shoes. And every brother, black man, who stayed in Germany during that time, I was in Germany when a lot of Germans hadn't even seen a real black man. They see you on TV, but they hadn't really. There were still towns and villages over there that had never really seen a black person live, in person. So they want to touch your hair, smell you, see if all the stuff that they was hearing about was real. There's a song called Wer hat Angst vom der schwarzen Mann? Meaning, who is afraid of the big black man? It's like London Bridges falling down. Not the same reason that song London Bridges was made. That was made because of the war. But this song I'm talking about is a song that children used to sing. Like they hold hands and get around in a ring and they dance around and sing this song. Wer hat Angst vom der schwarzen Mann? Niemand. Aber wenn kommt, laufen wir davon. That means who is afraid of the big black man? Nobody. But when he comes, we're going to all run. Weil hat große Augen und große Zähne. That means because he got big teeth and big eyes. Und ab 12 Uhr wächst ein langer Schwanz. That means at 12 o'clock he grows a long tail Okay? So when you went to clubs, you would literally have some young German female want to take you home so you can, they want to watch you turn into this beast at 12 o'clock. Now, if you don't believe me, go check this out. Go check it out. Go check it out. So, when you see an African, and this is for you non-Europeans, you Asians, some of you get it, but a lot of you don't. And you Europeans, in Spanish, you're European, so that's why I'm not saying Spanish too, because you're European. When you see a black person or an African person protesting, it's because of what America, the Europeans that now say they're Americans, have done. That's why. What you reap, you sow. If I took a group of Asians, it doesn't matter what type of Asian. It could be Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, Cambodian, Laos, Philippines. It doesn't matter. A group of them. Like 1,000 of them. And I had 20,000 acres of land. And I brought them onto my land. And I put a chain and ball on their leg. And they had to drag that thing around, all 1,000 of them, and drag that thing around everywhere they went. And they couldn't leave my compound. And then I taught that to my children, and they taught that to their children, and they taught that to their children. But the Asian community that we had, they were allowed to multiply, but they were working for my family. What do you think is going to happen over time? The Asian family is going to, nature, this is nature. Nature's going to create some of them where they're going to be born and be rebellious against that ball and chain. Some of them are going to escape, and it's going to start a war. So that's what's going on, people. And with this Kap Nik situation, that's what's going on. So it may be stirring up racial tension, but when hasn't there been racial tension in America? Before the European? The Europeans are not going to let you denounce their way of life without a fight. That's how war works. I've already stated this in Fight for What video, my first video. Europe conquered Africa, which is a fact. And up until this day, Europe has held on to the power. Africans are not in charge. Asians are not in charge, not even in Asia. So we need to comprehend this, that the European is going to fight tooth and nail to keep its morals and its value system. I want to mention this too. Why do, and see, this is conditioning and brainwashing. Why do some Africans, African Americans, get pissed off when they see the Confederate flag, but when they see the stripes and the stars, that flag, they don't get pissed off? It's the same flag. The exact same flag. It just looks different. But it's the exact same flag. It has the same meaning behind it. The exact same meaning. The Confederate flag and the so-called Stars and Stripes flag. Exact same meaning. There has been just as many black people, Africans, die by the hands of Europeans maliciously under the Stars and Stripes flag as under the Confederate flag. Those are facts. Those are the facts. So when you see some people get mad because 1 or 2 Africans, 3, 4, 50, 1,000 Africans are fighting against what Europeans have done, it's no wonder that those Africans or African Americans are called coons. What are those 1,000 African Americans afraid of? They're afraid of the Europeans. This is war. You're going to have some people during war become traumatized about what the conqueror has done. That's normal. So you're going to have some of the conquered trying to negotiate with the conqueror. Always. Always. And so the people I see who's against Kaepernick are those people who are seeking to negotiate with the conqueror. No, what they're saying is the conquered, these 1,000, or I'm just giving a number. It's more than that, but I'm just giving a number. These 1,000 of the conquered who are seeking to negotiate are saying, look, we don't want to fight you. We just want to agree with the conditions that you gave us. We'll work with that. We're satisfied with that. Where you have some conquered saying, we don't want to be, we're not satisfied anymore. We want the truth. We want to be free. We don't want to be under your flag anymore. We don't want to be under your rule anymore. So instead of those ones that want to negotiate, the ones that want to negotiate and be under the conqueror should just shut up. Don't do what the conqueror wants you to do and be in opposition to the ones who want to stand up and fight against the oppression. That's just what they want you to do. This is what you're saying. You're behaving in the way that you're in opposition to. Meaning, oh, look at those people who want to stand up and fight. The conqueror is sitting back looking like, see, we still got some of them on our side. Am I anti-American? I'm Pisces. So I'm anti-anything that's not just. I pointed out, look at nature, how one animal will go and eat the other animal. I find that to be unjust or unjust. That's an injustice. I have argument with the Creator. Yes, the thing that created us, I have opposition. Not opposition, excuse me. I have argument with it. I have questions for it. And I question it all the time. All the time. You should see my sisters when I get to talking about that. The ones who are Christians, for example. And I want to make a video right after this one about religion. And I hope I get some comments on it. Because like I said, I don't have comments on most of my videos, not one. And my comments are not turned off. So people, stop fighting. I mean, that's just what they want you to do about this Kaepernick situation. He's not doing anything different than anybody for that matter who stands up against opposition. A lot of you who are against Kaepernick, that's black, that's African, are saying, we're all America. All of us together. Let's make America great. There are a lot of things in America that are not great. America, to me, was only great before the European got here. And it's not great now to me. I've served my country. But like a lot of GIs, a lot of veterans, we don't see it as being great. There's a lot of people that are not veterans that don't see America great. These are the people who see the truth. You don't walk into somebody. How can I walk into your home slaughter all your children, or turn all your children into alcoholics, or turn all your children into drug addicts. Take some of your children and make them work for me. Make me a very wealthy person. And then expect you to call me great for that? That's what is referred to, and excuse me for saying this, but if you call me great for that, then me and my people have just mind fucked you to death. You don't even see what's really going on. I mean, you so afraid of me that you calling me great for coming into your home. Think about this now. I didn't even ring your doorbell. I just came, kicked your door in, right? I kicked your door in, held you at gunpoint, weapon point, whatever it was, sword, a big rock, a brick in my hand, bashed your wife's skull in, your mother, your grandmother, took some of your children, made some of them drug addicts, some of them alcoholics, and all of them slave for me, and I got rich off of it. And now I got you calling me a great person for doing that. So to me, when I look at history, I don't see America being great after the European got here. And for you Europeans that's hearing this, if you can't accept what your ancestors have done up until this point, then you just want to fight for fighting's sake. That's your nature. I accept you for that. That's what you've been doing. It's typical of you. That's just your nature. I don't fight your nature. You mess yourself up. You mess your own karma up by not repenting and not helping non-Europeans. And I'm not talking about helping them for sex. You know, a white guy, a European male, go out and get him a non-European female and get her pregnant and try to help that way. No, I'm talking about share your privileged money, your earnings, and try to help people be independent. And people, the Europeans are talking about, and you got some Africans talking about, well, this is what Trump is trying to do. Make the Africans independent. They're making you independent in America. But you will never have as much as them in America. You're going to use the example, I guarantee you're going to use the example, well, I make $100,000 a year. I make $250,000 a year. I make $1 million a year, and I got more than those Europeans that's homeless or that's under me. Yeah, but you'll never make as much as a European. And that's the difference. Because you live on their battlefield now. You are under their control now. Wasn't there a time where Europeans did not control? That's where I want to be. Now, if that's me having to die, then so be it. But as long as Europeans control, there will never be, and that's normal. You see, there will never be a time, as long as the European is in power, well, they'll let non-Europeans be above them. Never. They did not suffer and sacrifice all of this for you non-Europeans to be above them. They will not step to the side and allow you to be above them. No, they've already planned that when billions of us get wiped out, that they will still be in control. Look at their movies, they're telling you. Look at all the futuristic movies that what we refer to as sci-fi future, and you'll see that they still seek dominance. And that's okay. I say, let them dominate their own kind, which is okay. They can dominate their own kind. But if you look at a lot of their futuristic movies, we're not around. And they're not supposed to show us around. See, we've gotten to the point where we're waiting on Europeans so much to do for us. Now, Trump may be the spark to get us to be thinking for ourselves, whereas before that, the government always had these handout programs. But these handout programs weren't forced upon us. And that's where other ethnicities get frustrated with us. We're always accepting handouts. And we need to stop, because we have so-called educated African Americans persuading the non-educated to keep ourselves in a position where we're dependent, where the ones who have subjected themselves and sacrificed themselves to go through what Europeans have put them through, the indoctrination, to get back around the African American and say, hey, look, we need to start being independent and wean ourselves off Europeans. Just think about this, and then I'm going to go. What if all African Americans, all of us, every last one, homeless Joe on the street, homeless Shakia on the street, up until the 1% African Americans, would unite? What if we all were to unite, put our petty differences and our differences aside, no matter how major or how minor they are, and just unite for the good of our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, and leave this European system alone, whatever it is. We just no longer support it. And that's what the Kaepernick stands for. To leave the oppressor alone. The values, the morals, all of it. That's all this man is trying to do. And like I said, before Kaepernick's parents were born, Africans were taking a knee. And I'm not defending him. I'm just putting out there what this actually represents. Doesn't matter what Nike gonna do with him. Rosa Parks and the ones who came before Rosa Parks who didn't want to sit in the back of the bus, weren't they Kaepernick? Look at all the rebellious slaves who took up arms against Europeans. Haiti. Wasn't that Kaepernick? No matter if the countries are corrupted or not. And see, Europeans always challenge us. They always challenge. Let me explain this before I go. See, I could talk about this for hours. When you get online and look at the South African situation, look at the comments that they're writing about South Africa and the South Africans. And this is what Europeans think about us, a lot of them. If we got our own, all we'll do is destroy it. We'll be vagabonds, dope addicts. We wouldn't even be able to maintain our existence without Europeans. This is what a lot of them think. And they stand in your face and they laugh at you. They laugh with you, I mean. Hey, how you doing? Let's go play. But behind closed doors, they're saying and thinking, if black people got on their own, they would collapse. You don't want to take that challenge, right? This is why you're against Kaepernick and any black person who stands up against the oppressor. Because you've been conditioned and brainwashed to think that you can't stand by yourself. That's why you refer to yourself as an African American. Not because you know you can go out and build an outhouse if you need one. You can go build you a building. Hell, I can go in the woods and build me a house without a ruler. I don't need a ruler. I don't need to know how to count to build a house. I don't need no tools. I'll just pick up dead wood and pile it up and shape it in a way where I can get underneath it. That's common sense. But see, the European took away a lot of common sense. You have to go through European schooling to be able to go and read a ruler in order to be able to build a box. You have to do it the European way. And all the while they're thinking, we won't survive without them. Where the European came into your lands, and this is facts, people, this is facts. Came into your land. This should make you mad and pissed off. They said you were living like savages. You were living in mud huts. And they say this to this day. You lived in mud huts. Look at your conditions. Look at what we gave to you. Look at our society and look at yours. I got African friends in Africa. I adopted a boy in Africa. To this day, he looks at the European society as being something great. To me, it's not great. What the European is going through right now, the African already been through. That's part of what destroyed us. And this is way before Samaria. And we were told not to do it again, but we went and did it anyway. And look where it has gotten us now. So I made a video called Get Out of the Loop. If we don't listen to our ancestors, the ones who've passed before us, and the ones who've been through things, the new souls are just going to keep rotating over and over again. And that's why we find ourselves here in this story right now. Because we don't want to listen. We're stubborn. And the European is being used to keep us in that stubborn state. When our heritage is so much more than what they portrayed it to be. Wherever they go, meaning the European, we've already been there. So take the time out, instead of knowing the statistics of the Vikings or the Rams or the Cowboys, take some time out and go look at the statistics of self and what you represent. And then go back to the continent now what we would now refer to as Africa. Find your tribe. Write you some countries on a post-it note like I used to do. Shake them up, ball them up, shake them up, open it up, and go to that country and meet you some people that belong to some tribe and get to know them people. You go to these clubs and you want to get to know some Europeans. You want to get to know some people who ain't really trying to help you. They just helping you prolong and sustain their existence. And you teach this to your children to help them sustain their existence. So this is all what Kap Nik is doing. It's that simple. Stop being afraid. I'm making these videos showing my face talking to you about this because I know they can't kill me. They can kill my body, but they can't kill me. They can't make me loop around anymore. I'm done. I'm aware now. I see the bigger picture now. So that's why I'm not afraid. What I'm afraid of, and here's something I'm going to leave to you on a side note. I'm afraid of getting to that place that's paradise for me, my version of paradise, and asking myself this question: how long can I be there before I get bored?